Okay, we're going back on record at 12:59 p.m. Detective Fogg is back to begin testifying, still under oath. Detective, the interview that we just heard with Kenneth Walker, which began at 3:53 a.m.
Yes,
Then there was a second interview.
yes, ma'am.
When did it begin?
It begins at 5:14 a.m.
Okay, and, oh, I'm sorry, yes, ma'am.
From the last one, just based on the recording, do you know if they recovered the gun holster that you mentioned that was recovered?
I'm not certain on that. We didn't have a photograph of it, so I'm not sure if they collected that or not.
Okay. And then the other question is, as far as the calls that he made, do you have recordings or record of those calls they made?
They had the 911 calls.
So they're not to his mom or her mom?
No. There's phone records, but we don't have the calls. No.
We didn't get those?
No, we wouldn't have those. No.
So we can't confirm, or we can't confirm?
I don't have the records in front of me. I know on his recording there is the 911 call. It sounded like he was talking to someone else. We don't know who he was talking to.
There was one other thing.
Yes,
In
sir.
the last recording, it showed that there was about 20 minutes left.
That's when he was being photographed, is by the crime scene.
They just kept the recording going.
Yes. He's getting photographed by the crime scene technician.
Sorry, one last question.
Yes.
He mentioned that she had a Charger. What was the car that they were part of the search warrant? Was there a car as well?
Yes.
Was it her car?
It's for a 2017 Dodge Charger SRT 8, and it gives the registration.
And what color was that? Is it listed in
It's
there?
red in color.
A 2000, and what year was that?
Yeah, and this one says 2017 Dodge Charger.
Not hers.
And this one has a Mississippi registration on the search warrant.
Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect.
Just to advise the grand jury in regard to the questions about the phone calls to his mother, there is an interview that was conducted with his mother, as well as an interview with Ms. Taylor's mother, if you wanted to hear those. Those, as far as the phone call.
Did they mention the call?
Okay, so the second interview with Kenneth Walker, we can play that.
Anything while you're sitting here that so the other kid mentioned that he was a guy that's been on and off for some time. She messed around with something, we thought maybe that's who come to the door. Any idea who that was, or could have been? Who was the guy that she was messing around with before? about him, like was he involved in anything that would link him to her, that would raise questions. And so I don't think he'd be a fan of this dude. He was messing with your girl. You don't know if he was involved in narcotics or any kind of drug stuff, that maybe he kind of used her as a, like use her place as like a scapegoat, you know, or something that would get the police to go talk to her and not to him, you know. And if she kind of did him wrong and he was mad, and so he would say, hey, this is the address, or, I mean, do you think?
That ends the second interview, a very brief one. Any questions in regard to that brief one?
Was there more?
So then the third interview, Detective Fogg, the third interview begins at 5:19 a.m.
Yes, ma'am.
You said AM?
a.m.
What time was the second one?
5:14 a.m.
You'll find out.
So we'll go ahead with the third.
Just change the batteries. Terminal 05. I'm sorry, go ahead. Breonna Taylor.
So it was Breonna. So it was the cousin. I think she was at CO.
I think she currently works at like June, and like I said, I lost my job in January, so she was actually telling me about a position open there, just working with kids. So I'm pretty sure that's what she does right now. Kids, she's seeing it's like kids who, they don't stay there, like they just transition to the place that she works or something like that.
So you've never noticed Breonna have any kind of people coming in and out of the apartment, or?
Definitely not. She hates people. Like, a lot of kind of
Do you know the dude that she kind of messed around with when you guys were on or off that would come to the apartment? You can't think of anything or anyone that would cause the police to be looking at her apartment? She's never talked about anything she would maybe be caught up in or tied up in that would cause the police to come knocking on the door.
She's literally my best friend. Like, there's nothing we didn't talk about. I talk to her every single day. So, I would, even if she didn't tell me, I would have called. I noticed there was something. I don't know.
When you guys would be on your off, would you guys still be in contact with each other?
Yeah.
So you'd be not dating, and she'd be kind of dating somebody else, but you guys would still interact?
Yeah.
That'd be hard.
It was.
That's what she's not trying to do.
But it was only like that because, like I told you, like when we first met, originally we was friends. So it was like no matter what, like we was always gonna be friends. And like, no matter what we gonna do, she'd be there for me. No matter what she was gonna do, I was there for her. And it wasn't a whole lot of dudes. It was just one dude. Just one dude. I mean, she messed with him before she messed with me. So it's like a really random cat.
You don't know his name?
Someone goes by, you know.
guys would be on your off and you kind of date around too.
But we would never like lie to each other, so, that was going on, was what was going on. But my phone was still in her name, and like going to her house and that was my best friend. Like, so it was like a side of our relationship stuff, even when that wasn't right, like we were still friends, we were still family. Like I still talk to her mom, her aunt, her sister, and all of them have like my cell phone number. I have theirs, or I talk to them, and I wouldn't even talk to her sometimes.
Yeah, and they never mentioned a good thing about this guy, like, I mean, we don't like him, we don't want him, because it seems like they liked you. You were that close with them, you talked with them, even when we got dating at that moment. They would say that this guy's not good for her.
Yeah, my business day, stuff like that. I don't know anything about that dude unless I don't want to. I don't know him. I don't even know him. That's not my friend. That's not my associate or anything. So.
Her mom didn't like him. Maybe she liked you so much. She was trying to push him out so you just keep staying in the front.
But I was gonna stay there regardless.
So it was by her side no matter what. I think if she was messing with somebody that wasn't even good for her, you being that close to her, love her like you do.
Can't speak on what other guy does. Gotta figure out he's no good around.
True. Sometimes.
When you like somebody, so no matter what somebody else says about you, you never not like them for yourself until you not like them for yourself.
Exactly.
So, wouldn't matter what I said or anything, if it's what you want to do, it's what you're going to do until you feel like it's not what you want to do. It took me a long way to feel like it took me a long way. Like I said, we knew each other for years, so.
So mom never mentioned the name or, never crossed paths ever you ever seen.
Well, I've seen him one time, like, probably like 4 years ago, and then I told you, one day I was over here, he popped up over there, but I never, saw him face to face because he was, calling our phone and stuff. And we had, people over there, and then, she had just went outside in the parking lot and talked to someone about staying in the house, but she just came back for 2 minutes, and then came back out.
So you never saw his name, she didn't have a code name or anything on her phone that it would pop up, so.
It was actually no name, it was just a number.
Oh.
Yeah.
She really can't see. Do you remember what he looks like? Like a
Black guy.
and so I don't know if he was from the area, local.
I really try not to look too much into it, not to drive myself crazy. Because at the end of the day, we had an understanding. So it was until we decided how we're going to be together, then whatever we do is whatever we do.
Okay, because the reason I'm at it, we're just trying to figure out what would be the reason for, police coming.
They already told me they made a mistake, so I'm knowing that was a mistake. And then they kept on asking me, is there anybody else in there? I'm like, no, it's just her on the ground, got shot her. And they kept asking me, is there a white male in there? I'm like, no, there's not a white male in there. There's never been a white male in there. So they must have been looking for a white male and knocked on the wrong door. That's my conclusion. I'm almost 100% sure that's what happened. And then when I told them that there was nobody but me and her in there, when after that dog was barking at me and stuff, and I'm getting on my knees and I put handcuffs, I seen all their faces. I told them there was nobody in there but me and her, and they're just looking around each other like kind of like scratching their heads, like they're thinking they go to the wrong place. Like I've seen it on their faces. Like there's no reason. Like literally for the last 4 days in a row, she's been at work working 12 hours a night for the last 4 days. I've been over there playing my little
In her apartment?
at her apartment for the last 4 days. And today was the first day that she was off. And she was actually begging them if she was going to go to work today at, well, whatever, you know, last night at 11 o'clock if they needed somebody to come in, but they never called. So, anyway, that's even the right direction and she ended up going over. It's literally no information I have. I have a clue why they were at the door. You know, I know if they were coming to talk to me or her, there would have been no reason for them to be so mean of them. There would have been no reason for them to even thinking about kicking the door in. Like I'm sure y'all can look at both of our records, but never been. She's never been in any type of trouble that I know of. She's never even been in jail here, and I just went to jail for the first time ever a couple months ago because I wrecked my car and got a DUI. And I'm still going to court right now for that. It's probably going to get this, well, I don't know what this court, whatever now, but other than that, I got locked up in Warren County, Bowling Green, like 2011. I stole a hat from my mom. It's the only other time I ever been in trouble besides the DUI when they pulled me over or whatever and they took my gun. I went to court for that, whatever. They were trying to get me carried and said that they just my lawyer. Like I said, they haven't even charged me anything. So they said if I get a gun license, then they'll bump it down or whatever. So then they just turned it so they come up and I had a gun license and they gave me my gun back. So
did you drink it, rather?
well, yeah, but that's not what the gun situation was. I was just drinking and but I had drinks earlier, but I got a wreck on Barstown Road a couple, I think it was in like October, November. You know, I just wrecked my car, hit another lady's car. Nobody got hurt or anything, but I just went to jail for like a day or two. And I came out and I've been going to court before, but that's it.
Breonna,
You literally don't do anything.
you don't do any kind of recreational drugs, anything on the side?
She
You guys were chilling?
she doesn't do anything. Like she drinks like a couple coolers or something like that. She doesn't smoke weed. She doesn't smoke tobacco. She doesn't anything. I smoke weed from time to time. I smoke tobacco, but she doesn't do anything. But drink, and it's only maybe like once or twice a month because she works so much. So.
You ever did anything more than weed and got involved with some shady people that?
Not at all. Not at all. And everybody I deal with, I've been doing pretty much my whole life, from school and playing football when I was younger and stuff. I don't even deal with random people. And like you say, you know my dad, so you know I didn't grow up in the hood or anything like that.
Any kind of family members or anything are involved in anything?
Me? No. 90% of our mother's family is from Lexington. She has 9 brothers and sisters. Only 2 of them live in Louisville, and they're both older, of course, like 50 years or older. My cousins that live here, that's my mom's sister's kids. Both of them got like master, doctor degrees. Graduated from UK, Ohio State. Yeah, like so.
Your dad's side of the family pretty squared away?
Yeah, I mean everybody's older than me. That side of the family. Like nobody just works. That's it.
I know you said you smoke weed, I gotta ask, did you have any weed today?
Earlier today, before we went to Texas Roadhouse.
So about what time was that?
About 6 o'clock.
Okay. Is that, I mean, do you normally smoke weed? Did that?
I used to smoke weed like a lot, but like I haven't been, because for one, I'm trying to get a job right now. The only reason I smoke today is because I just took my drug test for the post office and for the other job that I'm gonna get. I took both of them like yesterday.
Okay.
So, I took them sometime this week, so I was done doing drug testing or whatever, so.
So how many times this week have you smoked weed?
Twice.
I mean, what about like this month? How many times this month have you smoked weed?
Like 5 or less.
Okay. Is that pretty consistent, like five or less times a month, or
Well,
is it more?
even when I was smoking consistently, I smoked like 1 time a day.
When was it? Like
When I got off work.
Okay. Like,
So I go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. I get off anywhere between 5 and 6. When I get home, I get in the shower, smoke, play my game.
I got you. And like, when did that start and when did that end?
Smoking.
Yeah, like after work.
Really just whenever I felt like I didn't smoke weed until like 2012.
Okay.
Well, I went to WKU, so that's when I started. I didn't smoke like when I was in high school and stuff. I played football, so I didn't have time to smoke.
I got you. So maybe like 5 times this, within a month period from now, and then what, like 15, 20 times prior to that month?
Yeah, I'd say.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to make sure, you want to like, how be right now? No. Are you doing any type of medication or anything like that? You're just nothing like alcohol? Okay, I just want to make sure.
Well, I had a big margarita at Texas Roadhouse, but like I said, it was at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then her friend was asking us to take her to drop her kids out. So after we left from there, like I was riding with her, she was driving today. So when we left from there, like we took her friend like down Dixie to drop one of her daughters off. Then we went downtown, like to the east end, dropped the other daughter off. Then we took her friend back home in PRP Ontario Road. And then we came home, so we probably didn't get home till like 9 o'clock. After that, so by then I was long done feeling that margarita or the little one that I smoked before we went to go eat. So everything was pretty just normal. Like I said, we relaxed. We relaxed in the bed. Like, literally the night was over. Felt like knocked on that door. We'd been asleep. I would have been asleep. She was already sleeping. I would have been asleep for the next 10 to 15 minutes.
She don't smoke weed at all? No.
I'm trying to get into it before, but
No. Not happening.
good for her.
Man, and help me kind of understand something, right? So I know you originally told like the officers or whatever, like she shot him.
Yeah, I was just scared. Like, I didn't want them to think that I was like something where it's like when I first came out and stuff, I had no reason to say, like I said, my gun's legal and everything. Like clearly I was scared. Like I don't know, like nobody announced themselves or anything. Like clearly, like I said, we never have no dealings with the police or whatever. So if I were there at the door, oh, it's the police, it changes the whole situation. There's nothing for us to be scared of. Like we were literally on the way on purpose on the point and say, hey, like, what's the problem? What's going on? You know, even if we were to all get detained or whatever for a second, I can talk to you. Like I know I haven't done anything. I know they have no reason to be looking for me. So there's no reason why I would be hostile at all. The only reason I even had a gun out because we didn't know who it was. So if we knew who it was, then that would never happen. The only reason I even said something about the ex-boyfriend or whatever was like I said, neither one of us in anything. So I can't for the life of me imagine why anybody would be knocking on the door at this time, but it's just like, if it was gonna be anything, it could be that. What else? Like, what other, I just don't, there's no possible scenario for anybody to be knocking on the door at that time of night, you know, and then for it to be that hard, that loud, and you're not revealing who you are. That's weird. Like, you know, it's the middle of the night, on the door, and not seeing who they are. You know, what are you gonna do if you're home with your family? Somebody's knocking on your door, and you don't know who it is after you've had who it is. Like, I know y'all have been you're gonna grab the coffee. Okay, so what's going on? You're creeping towards me. Like, who is it? Who is it? I don't know who it is. The door flies open.
So you had the TV on, watching the movie, so is TV loud?
It was normal. We say it was on like 12 or so. Like, she don't like the TV that loud. Like, if I have the TV place, I turn it down. I think I'd be so loud. You know, so it wasn't that loud.
Music on during this banging or anything like that? Were you on the process of being intimate or anything during the banging? Were you just laying there?
Except she was asleep.
Yeah.
She had probably been asleep for like 10 minutes. I was actually kind of pitching at her because she wanted to watch that movie.
Yeah.
And she fell asleep.
Yeah, I agree. Man, is there anything at your apartment or anything like that that would kind of help us in this investigation?
No. Like, I literally don't understand this at all.
Yeah.
I have no reason. Like, I don't understand at all why I would be knocking on her door unless it was a mistake. Like, and I asked that out there a million times, like, why were you at the door? Nobody had an answer.
That's what we were figuring out.
And I know it was a mistake because they kept saying it was a white male and I was hiding a white guy and they're like, why? Like,
She ever mess around with a white guy?
no,
She ever white guy friends?
no, not ones besides ones that work with. Like, and I talked to her on the phone and stuff, wow, she's at work, but she's never seen them outside of work except for maybe like a co-worker dinner with everybody out there.
So you don't think she's ever messed around with someone that maybe she's never been
No. I thought that guy who was talking to me was gonna be he seemed real apologetic.
Who was that?
The guy here on plain clothes, he was an officer though. He pulled over on Main Street into a random parking lot. Another female cop came up and pulled next to us in the car. We're going this way, so we're facing this way. She's facing this way. He pulled right beside us. He told the lady who was driving the car, I was in the roll down my window. And he asked me my name. And I think he might have asked me my social security number or something like that. And I asked him what she did. And he said, well, we'll discuss that in a second. We'll get down and I started crying. But in the midst of that, he was like, there's been a big misunderstanding here tonight. And I was like, what do you mean? Well, I think that's when I asked him what she did. And he was like, well, we'll talk about that in a second. I started crying and just walked away. But that was the first officer who he seemed apologetic. Like I said, he's like, oh, well, talk to me, I will get you this, get you that. And just like, I don't know, like he knew everything. It was a mistake or something.
I knew there was some confusing, because when we wanted to talk with you, and we thought you were still on the scene, and they could come in here, so. I don't know that that's what he meant, but, because I wasn't there and I didn't say it, but I know there was some confusing, because
do anything else, I'm gonna close smoking that door. All right, well, we're interviewing everybody, police officers, anybody saw anything, stuff like that. So just give some time, okay?
That concludes the third interview with Kenneth Walker. Are there any questions for?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it normal to read somebody's Miranda rights after you started interviewing them? I mean, because they read his Miranda rights in like 7 minutes and 45 seconds into his interview, the first one.
Well, you can talk to them a little bit before you do it. But usually it's done right. Usually it's done. It doesn't have to be done right at the beginning. You can do like questions or conversation, just kind of get to know each other. She admitted she made a mistake that she should have done a little earlier.
Okay. So, and he's in custody within the whole time doing all 3 of these interviews?
He's been detained. I don't know at what point he was in custody. He was,
Okay, well, detained. Okay.
I heard at one point they stopped to go down to Brooklyn after the first interview.
I think that was, I think after the first part, my understanding is they just took some photographs of him. And because they went to go do, from what I understand the transcript, they went to go check on some more information, and the crime scene technician came in and photographed his clothing and everything. I don't know at what point he was taken into custody officially.
Anything else?
Was he asked to take a lie detector test?
We don't have that information. It wasn't in any of these interviews, which.
Okay. Detective, did you obtain a copy of the interview done by Public Integrity Unit of the SWAT commander, Lieutenant Dale Massey,
Yes, ma'am.
who arrived on scene at Springfield
Yes, ma'am.
after? And you have that today?
Yes.
Okay. Lieutenant Dale Massey interview.
Sergeant Jason Vance, Louisville Metro Police Department's Public Integrity Unit. Today's date is Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. And it's $1,300. For your present at 3672 Timber Boulevard, Public Integrity Office. This is a report statement from Lieutenant Dale Massey. Statement is reference to PIU case numbers 20-019. Present with me is Lieutenant Dale Massey. Attorney is not present. And Sergeant Jeremy Word for the Public Integrity Unit. Lieutenant, are you aware that this statement is being video and audio recorded?
Yes, sir.
Does this meet with your approval?
It does.
Sir, please state your full name and spell your last name.
Larry D. Massey Jr., M-A-S-S-E-Y.
And sir, what's your code number?
2459.
And where are you currently assigned?
SWAT, Special Operations Division.
And how long have you been in that unit?
The unit, 3.5 years.
And how long have you been with the department?
19 and a half.
Are you under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or any other intoxicants this time?
No, I'm not.
Are you taking any kind of medication that would affect your judgment or your ability to think clearly?
No, I'm not.
So this one, covers multiple things. We're going to bypass this because it doesn't cover this. Because the statutory requirements of KRS 67C.326, I'm obligated to advise you that this is a criminal investigation, not an administrative investigation. However, you are not the subject of this investigation. Knowing this, are you willing to give us a statement?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So, what this is a reference to is that, we had an officer involved shooting on March the 13th at 3003 Springfield Drive in the 3rd Division. And as a result, reviewing body cam footage and also just knowing, the course of investigation is obviously SWAT responded to that location and cleared it, secured it, if you will, prior to PIU's arrival. And reviewing some of the documentation provided to us by CID, we did not receive a operations plan. So one of the questions we wanted to see if you guys were, I know you all had briefed them before the search warrants because there was multiple search warrants served that night. Is it some of the information that you all gathered from the briefing, and what information were you all provided for that night?
Okay, yeah, backtrack. So we got information on these wars probably about a month in advance. It was launched an operation. Sergeant Cassie, Sergeant Barton kind of points on. So what kind of happens now with us is we'll let our reminder scores, they'll call me, put the sergeant kind of gets the planning phase and kick it out to our officers who do the recon to start our planning process. In a meeting a month prior, they brought up multiple locations. Our guys advised them, hey, we need to take this slower, regular 8 orders in one night, simultaneous orders around that business touches because they had danger of doing 2 locations at once. How about we do 2 this day, 2 next day, and so on and so forth. And there was mention of the address on Springfield and an email sent to Joe Cassie. Fast forward to the week before, so he gets 2 addresses, both on Elliott, one's a vacant, we're across the street from each other. Detective James comes in the night of the warrant, we do the briefing. We bring both of them up on his end and our end. So he'll give us the intel behind his case, what he's learned, which we counter. Easily enough for us to understand it. It was our 5th time, I think, in 18 months doing it. So we have a pretty good idea what that house is like. And thank you, next door, dealt with that as well. He goes through his whole brief, giving us his intel on his side, so we go through our brief on tactical plan. So what we've done since going full time is we completely overhauled how we plan warrants. Back in the day, we would take a lot of detective information and take it as golden, not anymore. It's soft, and there's no kids, there's no dogs, there's kids and dogs. So we have an exhaustive recon process that we go through. He made mention of another address, 2605 West Lee that night. He said something to the effect that we're going to do that night. But at a later date, sounds like it. At no point did I ever hear the word Springfield mentioned in the briefing. Someone else may have, I never heard it. It was never said that they were doing any other ones. We rolled out to Elliott with the understanding of who the holes in the world that night. Okay? Both were on the scene, so we're across the street from each other, so it's kind of a tactical destination, trying to play this house while you're working this house. There was like 10 or 12 people in this house. So I'm with a barricade in the middle of both locations, kind of just surveying what's going on. We're about, 2 or 3 minutes into working the door, we're calling people out, and on our SWAT watch, you're over here, shots fired. Wait a second, shots fired. Is everybody good? My guys get on the radar, leave here. It's like, yeah, we're good at the breach point, whatever. So we don't leave a sergeant when the phone comes on our SWAT show, said, yeah, Springfield, gives the address, we an officer while shooting. I'm in the barricade, so we kind of gather our bearings. So like, we're talking about, again, back to the point that we have no idea if they'll do it more at the same time. Gather our bearings, kind of get up the QRT together. I know it's me, Sergeant Myers, Sergeant Cassie, Sergeant Hogan. Scott Walker was dropping the barricade, I believe Chris Baker. There was about 10 of us that went over to Springfield. So we leave all the R2 down there, get to Springfield. There's some kind of, as these kind of situations unravel, like the address I gave them first was a different address than I actually had. So it took a little bit to get there. We had to actually wrap the barricade through a chain link fence because it was just a one-way go around kind of street. Get there, and pull the barricade up pretty much to the side of the car, the driver's side. And I see to my right, a row of police cars, and what I would have to guess between officers with long guns pointed directly at the door, the slide glass door. I believe I see Lieutenant Hooper, Lieutenant Shot, just kind of in the area. So we kind of get our plan together. As we're rolling up, we're getting intel, hey, the shooter's in 1015, he's over here. He said there's a female on the side, there's something to that, but again, it's candy because these things are, the exact murders. But to that effect, I was really confident that there was not going to be more resistance in the house, but we were trying to go check on the possible female, right? So direct preservation of life. So I kind of talking to Major Shot and said, who do I make? Get over here by cover, because when I initially get there, as I'm looking for that sliding glass window, our initial thought is, oh, they're shooting out the window at the police, right? At the door, I should say. Get some more intel. I sent a team up there, and I kind of stayed behind the barricade. I said, all the patrol officers, check their rifles up, because they're still really just pointing, and they don't know what to point at, more or less. I mean, there's target identification, there's nothing to point at because there's curves and everything else. We're just pointing guns, just pointing at. Get a plane together, they roll up, go to one side, look at our throw up. Ricky inside, and they can see down the hallway, they can see a person down. I mean, it was a Wednesday, so they go in, search it, possibly more. hurt people, whatever. Come back out, get all clear. The patrol officer holds them on the 3 side, they're holding down another window, there's a white male at it, they had him at gunpoint, but I'm like, that's a different apartment, so that guy back there is fine. So obviously, chaotic scene, do the best you can when you get there, try to slow everything down, and just try to provide the best service we could, and help them as best we could. But getting back to the planning phase, we had no idea they were going to be at that point.
And as far as the information that you guys received, did you all receive the search warrants? I mean,
yeah, what happened is they'll do a risk assessment matrix, and search warrants. We get copies of those. I bought an extra link now, but I have to require me to give me a high number for that extra layer of safety, because the message still works for different units where multiple units are looking at it, and unbeknownst to us because we're supporting it. So, high number. Some detectives will above beyond with the PowerPoint that they'll do that we supply to the day that gets information. But at the very least, the risk assessment matrix, copy the hide number, and actually search warrant affidavit was required.
And just for the tape, I mean, a hide is a deconfliction site.
Correct, yes. Deconfliction sites to ensure multiple units are planning police action at the same locations, meant to stop little blue violence or little shooting.
And during the course of your all's preparation, what significant, if any, information did you all learn beyond what was provided by CID?
In this case, not so much because we've done the house before. We've done it literally 4 or 5 times in 18 months. So we knew we were going to get. They provided some information, I think the door may be barricaded, but through us going by, hey, we see people in and out freely. We're getting updates as the road there, there's people in and out. I mean, it's a very hot area, at 24 o'clock alley. So nothing stood out other than there could be possible follow-up wars later on down the road. But nothing about the 2 locations we were doing that night. It was just a house we done before.
As far as Springfield goes, once you make it over there, you guys, make it safe and secure for us, PIU. How long have you all seen after that occurred?
After we caused the house up there?
Secured it.
Wow, and we didn't stay long after, probably 10 or 15 minutes. Just long enough to where I knew that everybody was going to be safe. Like, there was no threats to the police or solution on that matter, that they kind of helped they needed. I said a couple things to Major Shy, and I told her a little like, hey, we should probably get out, escort officer, figure out who did what, but I said our role is the tactics part's out. I'm not gonna say part of that, but maybe I should probably consider a couple things related. So probably 10 or 15 minutes.
Now, did you learn any information as far as, that incident on Springfield after you guys came out and while you still around?
Oh, yeah. So originally, when I was there, Detective Cosgrove was providing the best intel, best information out of anybody hands down. He had a rifle slung. So I assumed, just having a rifle slung, that he was there after the fact, okay? So I know Matt was involved in it. While we're on scene, we learned that Cop was involved in it. Like, I had no idea he was part of it. And then through the course of, Sergeant Burger attested to this, a couple of guys went to the neighborhood apartments to ensure there was no other casualties due to the gunfire. I don't know, at one point, they were pointing out the window, and Detective Hanks looked over and kind of made a motion like that, like tapped his chest almost to say, yeah, that was me type thing. So as we were on scene, it became pretty apparent to us what we thought happened, as far as what happened initially at the breach point, and then when those how many rounds were fired through the windows and doors.
You said you learned that Cosgrove was involved. Did he tell you that, or were you told from another person?
I was told by somebody else because I said, I was like, man, get him out of the mix. And he was still in the mix, doing stuff. I was like, get him separated from everybody.
Who told you that?
I don't remember. I really don't.
And was he removed from the scene?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And like I said, so we're all there, and it's obviously hectic, like I said before, but I do remember saying, hey, separate him, he's involved, he was made to the mix,
Sorry, Bert.
LT, going back to the briefing, I know there were 2 on Ellie they talked about, one on Ali, and it was decided Ali would be done at another time. There was no mention of Springfield. Through our investigation, we've learned up to this point from information provided by CID that Springfield was directly related to Elliott. Is it common with the amount of warrants you do for CID and other, I guess, units, if you have a site that is linked to other sites, would that be briefed during that time?
Oh, 100%. We should have knowledge of what they're doing. And kind of not to get too caught up in the rabbit hole here. Since going full time, the team has got millions of dollars, not because of me, it's because of the guys. We treat safety very important, right? So like simultaneous wars, bad business. Someone goes down like we just saw, who's there to go out our priorities are people, right? So like to us, we need to be briefed on everything, but at the same time, like there's been some understanding in our privacy and CID that we're not going to rush in and get dealt. We're not going to treat human rights more important than any of that, right? So with the time, our tactics have changed as well. So they should definitely let us know as far as what they're doing so we can provide assistance. Because in a case like that, hey, drive to to Springfield, y'all sit there and watch it, we can send some guys over, or if y'all are going to do it, let us get y'all there first so we can push our your way to be able to support them. You know, from CID, I don't know how many awards they do a year, because we don't give ourselves one, obviously, but we always try to just push them the safest way they can do the awards, if that makes sense. So they should definitely bring us on any location they're going to be at during a bridge, just so we know.
Okay. And back to that point, I guess that Elliott was deemed at the time, I guess those were the two targets. Was it known at the time the targets were at that location, or were there unknowns where?
I want to say there was two main targets, and forgive me, I don't remember the names. I want to say that they did a vehicle takedown on a ruin, or maybe two that looked the location, and one of the other targets, there was like 3 or 4 targets. I think at least one was in the house, and I think 2 were taken down as we were out or as we were working on the first incident. But the timing of that, and I don't know which one was the main target versus the secondary target. They provided like 3 or 4 different names.
Okay. You mentioned the email to Sergeant Cassie about Springfield. You know, I guess he may have more intimate knowledge of that. But was that around the same time the other warrants came in, like a month prior to?
Well, I was on a conference call with Colonel Chavis, Major Gregory, Major Burbrick, and myself talking about debriefing the incident, kind of what we can learn from it. Because I think there was I heard some things that came from the initial interviews from PIU that said SWAT and narcotics or CID weren't communicating effectively. And I was brought to my attention that maybe it was my fault, maybe it wasn't, so we had to turn in the air. That was the first time I was ever made aware of that email because she provided a copy before. But I don't think I ever received an initial email, and if we did, it was 30 days prior. So mentioning in a briefing or tell us in a subsequent meeting, we're not going to remember you said Springfield a month earlier.
Okay. Colonel Chavis provided that.
I don't know, Major Burbrick was it?
Okay, so Major Burbrick.
She brought to my attention, hey, this email existed 30 days ago, not 30 days, one of the wars, March 13th?
March 13th.
It may have been March 1st or 2nd, maybe 2 weeks, 2 weeks to 3 weeks. But I don't look at my email, I don't know that I received that email, I may have not double checked. But that was the first time that I recognized that Springfield was mentioned.
Jason, you have anything else?
Yeah, as far as that, you know, I guess you don't have a meeting afterwards, like a debriefing meeting. I mean, clearly you had some concerns that night. 100%. Did you voice them that night to anyone? Who did you voice them to, if any?
We talked to John as a team, figuring at some point we would call it here because everybody kept footage. I think we were the most unaffected by what happened because we were after the effect. Obviously, we were there for initial shooting, and generally not asked because they're in more stressful situations can process information and slow things down.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about it internally, yeah, 100%. And you know, that's why I was kind of alluding to earlier. Like our priorities are people, adults way down here. So that's why we move slow. That's why we mitigate our actions. And going back to how I was really big in the meeting about the no-knock thing. So these no-knock boards, if they provide us a no-knock board, you know what we do? We knock heads. Okay, the only time we'll do a no-knock board is if we will press one if we're in an explosive breach charge of breach point, where you can't make announcements, right? And we usually reserve those for homicide suspects. So we would take the extra step. Yeah, it's no problem, we're still not going to household presence just because of the initial danger of the breach.
Well, that's actually the question. Did CID request a no, or did you tell CID that you all requested a no knock on Elliott?
Did not. We've done that in the past. Elliott, when you enter if you all you enter a common area, and that's where they do all the drug sales, a lot of the drug use hang out at. Every time we walk in that house, we encounter people immediately at the threshold. We wouldn't enter the house, we called them out to us. We called every single person out to us on Elliott. I left that time, but the time before, call everybody out, send nobody in, then we go and secure. So that the house had like trap stuff too.
And had you known that CID was going to serve that warrant on Springfield, would you advise them no, not to do that?
I would advise them 100% not to do it until we were done doing what we need to do. Like I said, we can't do every single,
Thank God.
we can't do every single lure for them. So if she was at one of the matrix, which I never saw that matrix, so frankly I can't speak to what she would have showed up with the matrix at all, I don't know. Then I tell people, like, when you use a SWAT team, that's a higher level of force. So we can't do every single warrant the way we would do a SWAT. But I was definitely told them, hey, wait till we're done, we can move some arm to you, or give them alternate options. Hey, we can send 4 or 5 guys over there after the fact to just do some call out, because if the warrants for money, which is my understanding of what it was, is if there's people with money there, you can't destroy money, they're not going to destroy money, just call out to you, like, if you want to breach the door, make announcements, this police, you know. So we generally tend to treat our war that way. It's just the way we operate tactically, the way CID operates tactically, they're completely different.
And not to beat a dead horse, but on the briefing Elliott, there's no mention of Springfield, so is it safe to say no matrix or ops plan, anything, or no knowledge whatsoever about the warrant being conducted at the same time at the Springfield?
No, so I'll take a step further. I've never received a matrix from CID that we can do a warrant on. That's a policy thing, so it's not a you all thing, but I never received matrices on the ones that we do, only the ones that we do for.
What about the operations plan? Did y'all receive one of those?
No.
So nothing?
It still happened to this point?
It's not good.
What about the Elliott? Did you receive one there?
So when we do their awards, we kind of do our own ops planning, so they provide us the information, like I said, going back to the past about we want to get our lives all look at it. So I would say the information they provide, we come up with our own operations plan, because our planning process is more intensive than theirs. So as long as they bring the warrant and the matrix, I mean, we get the plan put together ourselves, because we're the ones that are going to be executed. Okay.
Back at Springfield, when you all arrived on scene, you had mentioned something when you first arrived on the scene. It was your initial thoughts that officers were receiving fire through a sliding glass door.
Yes.
Can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
So as we were getting there, we hear that there's automatic gunfire, there's a rifle play, we kept on hearing that number. So my assumption was when I saw the number of what I thought to be initially exit, bullet through the windows and clanging on the doors, I just assumed, hey, well, that's what I shot as making our approach. Then I figured out now it's at the breach point. So then it becomes pretty readily apparent to me that those rounds, after 3 or 4 minutes, they came from outside. So those rounds that went inside that I thought initially were coming out were actually going in the apartment.
Okay. And you may or may not remember, because a while has gone past, but on that sliding glass door, do you remember, were there shades or anything over that door? Could you see into the apartment?
I see from the apartment. I want to say it was those white vertical blinds, but I couldn't remember. There's definitely a white barrier in that, and you couldn't see any windows that I could see. I mean, because we couldn't even see any light or darkness. It was just, like I said, just a white window.
Okay. And in your all's training and experience in training through the department, is it pretty much given that we're trained to, you have to identify the target as part of training, and just kind of your all's continued training?
Yeah, 100%. Target identification and know where your backdrop is are probably 2 most important things as far as when you fire your weapon. 100%. Like, you have to know, A, what you're shooting at, B, what's in front of it, B, what's behind it. There's no other way you can operate.
And this is a question I'm not sure you can answer, or you're the appropriate person to ask this, but, you know, since you have a lot of weapons training experience, if someone is to fire a weapon in an illuminated area into a darkened area, would that muzzle flash project into that dark area?
If it's covered by cloth, windows and stuff, no, it's good. All you can do is hear what would probably be a very rapid firing of a gun that you could mistake for a rifle. I don't know, but you could definitely be able to see if they're at the breaching point. Because again, like I said, initially we were like, oh, we're coming outside, and then we moved over, kind of saw the door, oh, there's a door, and then they had worked on the sergeant had right in front of us. So I was like, okay, that's what I got. I said more information on what happened over here.
And one more question. So this table is about 36 inches wide, and the entry door at this apartment was 36 inches. Well, the biggest entry door they have. Is it practical, or is it even common for not just SWAT? I mean, clearly SWAT works, and they have different tactics. But for any, you know, CID unit, investigative unit, when they do an entry into a house, would it be common for 3 people to be in what we consider the fatal flash?
Absolutely.
So you've been here like almost 20 years. Have you ever seen where someone's punched out like this? Cover 2, if you will. So first light, cover 2 is punched out, maybe behind a little bit, and there's a third person between the first light and cover 2. Have you ever seen that?
No. Not in any kind of scenario where you're trying to knock in, speak to what kind of stuff goes on the street, but no, you never would, you know, yourself in that situation.
But even, you know, in your experience and just, you know, I know you had experience in the 2nd Division Impact, or Flexion. Have you ever seen anyone from a police department do that?
Back to the scene on Springfield when you arrived, you mentioned you learned Detective Cosgrove actually had fired his weapon. And I think you may have said it, and I missed it. You advised someone that he should probably be secured. Who was that?
I mean, I may say some Lieutenant Hoover, because it was kind of, because you had the 3rd Division Major was there. Then you had their lieutenant, I don't know if Lieutenant Hoover was there from the beginning, but I remember saying, I think it was the Lieutenant Hoover man, you had him separated. He was too involved with what was going on when we went there. He needed to be checked out. He needed to be off to the side, you know, the emotions, the adrenaline dump, you know. He provided good information, don't get me wrong, he had the best intel, he still needed to be out of the base.
Okay, so at that point, the major of the division.
He was already on the scene when I got there. They had another situation in the 3rd that evening they called me about. It didn't rise to our level of need to assist, so we went ahead with the street, the rules on Elliott. So that's how I got there. There was, I mean, he was there was probably 70, 80 police cars. We didn't come from like Elliott all the way. I mean, we were by the road for good 20, 25 minutes. 20 minutes just get there and back. It took us that long. So yeah, he was already there.
Okay. Other than in how our structure in the department is set up with officers such as detectives, sergeants, lieutenants, majors, and up above, Lieutenant Hoover would have been in charge of that activity or that one.
If he was there,
if he was there for the beginning of it.
But then he kind of gets murky whenever our major shows up. Hey, no, that's not my unit, but it's your division, so the whole ICS, you know, but.
Okay. That's awesome.
That's all right. Just a few more questions I'll take. Are there any other questions we have not asked you, or any other information you have that may be beneficial to this case?
I mean, just based on what we saw that night, not having been privy to any of the investigation, just the, and not so much my interaction with Detective Anderson, but with my guys, we just got the feeling that night that, you know, something went bad. And that deterrent identification, we don't think, again, we did the investigation just based upon our initial, what we saw, what we were told, kind of, how we replayed the thing, because we want everybody to be safe, right? That's our ultimate goal. We don't want us getting hurt, innocent people, even the bad guys. I mean, no one's got to die, no one's died. That's $14,000 is worth it. anything I noticed, I wasn't either. As we debriefed it down with Dover, it was just an egregious act. I mean, from a lot of perspectives, like that is in fact what happened. Other details come to light, it is what it is. It's just, it seemed like that there's no target identification whatsoever for those rounds that were shot inside the car.
Any follow?
On Elliott, who was in charge other than you all? Can you think of any command who was in charge down there from CID or?
Sergeant Farr was there. I don't remember, was Lieutenant Huckleberry there? I don't think he was. I think Colonel Chambers was out with him that night though. I mean, I think she was out by the she may have not out with us. I don't know if Major Burger was out or not. So they never came over here. The only person from our college said they came over here was Detective James. He's the only person that we knew for a fact was there. And he told us, man, they got Sergeant Farr on the backside. He may have mentioned some other people that were there, but they were already in place in the high because of those cars. So I know James only came to actually brief us in there.
Okay, which isn't uncommon. If he's the lead investigator, he's going
we actually
to
refer to less people there because if you have 30 people there, it's too out of the way and you can't hear the brief.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to state for the record before we end?
No.
Is everything you told me the truth, the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
We will now conclude a statement time now approximately 13:20 hours.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he say they was at 20 or 21st and Elliott before they got there?
24th.
24th?
Yes, sir.
He spoke really fast.
Yes, he does.
You all have a transcript.
Yes, we do.
I was curious, he gave sort of a explanation of the no-knock policy, or at one point?
I think he gave an explanation of his.
Yes. I was just kind of curious as to how they approach that.
While we're looking, Ms. Weather's looking that up, you had a question. Yes, ma'am.
I have another transcript question.
Yeah, he spoke really fast.
Yes, he did. So,
Right, that's what I was like.
all right, let's get this one. Let's get this one.
Yeah, the last part is what I just wanted at a point. He said they asked him other questions and he made a statement that's what I was.
That isn't the only one else.
Yeah, mine was
I mean, he can replay it, but it doesn't, he speaks so fast, a lot of it, I was like, what?
I would rather have mine read.
Yeah, it's not, he spoke way too fast.
We can always come back, because I haven't had it.
I have the timestamp behind.
Wait, I'm in the middle.
Page 10.
Page 10.
I'm sorry, I should have done that.
Okay, let's please. This is reference to the no-knock. Okay, we talked about it internally. Yeah, 100%. You know, that's what I kind of too early. Like our priorities are people. Like dope's way down here. So, and that's why we move slower. That's why we mitigate our actions. And going back, I know it's really big in the media about the no-knock being thing. So these no-knock warrants. If they provide me with a no-knock warrant, you know what we do? We knock and announce. Okay, the only time we'll do a no-knock warrant is if it says something, if we're blank one. If we're doing explosive breach charge at the breach point where you can't make announcements, right? And we usually reserve those for homicide suspects. So we even take the extra step, hey, it's a no-knock warrant, but we're still going to knock and announce our presence just because of the initial danger at the breach point.
Okay, and this warrant was executed according to the investigation detective where there is actually a photograph of the whiteboard?
Yes.
Where it is stated, knock and announce.
Yes.
For the Springfield. Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
I don't know if the timestamp helps, but it's around 27.45, right after he talks about was an egregious act. And then there's something about justification. Something.
Yeah, there was no justification for the rounds being fired. That's
what I wanted to hear what he said.
I want to hear what he says right now.
Around minute 27.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay. While she's doing that, this may help you. We'll get back to that. I'm going to read this.
16.
Like, answer that. We're going back to your question. 16? Okay. Actually, it's the same one. He asked, are there any other questions we have not asked, or you, or any other information you have had that may be beneficial to the case? This is Lieutenant Massey. I mean, just based upon what we saw that night, not having been privy to any of the investigation, just the and not so much my interaction with Detective Hankinson, but with my guys, we just got the feeling that night that, you know, something really bad happened and that the target identification, we don't think, and again, we didn't do the investigation, just based upon our initial, what we saw and what we were told, kind of how we played the whole thing, because we want everybody to be safe, right? That's our whole ultimate goal. Is we don't want us to get hurt, innocent people, and even the bad guys. I mean, if no one's got to die, they don't have to die. Like, that's $14,000 isn't worth it. Any amount of dope's not worth it either. As we debriefed and kind of looked over, it was just an egregious act. I mean, from what our perspective, if that's in fact what happened, have other details come to light, it is what it is. It seemed like there was no target identification whatsoever for those rounds that were shot outside the apartment. Yes.
Those would be the shots coming through the window and through the window.
He's referring to Detective Hankinson's.
Right.
And he said no target identification.
Right.
Not
Yes.
justification.
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
When he was discussing, when they were talking about the blinds, was his answer that you don't put words in his mouth, you can't really see muzzle fire?
Page.
Yeah.
Wait, we can get there.
That's what I said.
Couldn't see anything inside the doors like barriers.
Start with page.
So he also said you couldn't see them.
Yeah, page 13. Page 13. Line
560.
560. Yeah.
Okay, vertical blinds, this is Lieutenant Massey. I could not see anything in the apartment. I want to say it was those white vertical blinds, but I could be wrong. It was something. There was definitely a white barrier in that, and you couldn't see in any of the windows like there that I could see. I mean, because we couldn't even see any light or darkness. It was just like I said, just the white. I believe they were vertical blinds.
Yeah, and then they asked a question, then there's,
Okay, I got that to the bottom. Question one is, and this is a person I'm not sure you can, this is a question I'm not sure you can answer or either. You're the appropriate person to ask this, but you know, since you have a lot of weapons training and experience. If someone is to fire a weapon in a illuminated area, into a darkened area, with that muzzle flash project into that dark area. If it's covered by cloth, windows and stuff, no, you wouldn't see anything. Yes?
This is directed, I think it was about Hoover, but it was basically, I'm just trying to get the gist of what he's saying. Not saying that this is the way everybody does it, or that this is the only way to do it. But I guess, was he implying that if someone is involved in this, they should be separated from, once SWAT goes in and everybody's checking everything, that they should be removed and not,
Yeah, yes, best practices, anybody involved in a shooting like that should be separated.
He's talking about Costco at that point?
No.
he's talking about.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, you know, the comment.
Yeah. No, best practices, and that's what he's saying. Cosgrove was still giving briefings and talking to, and Lieutenant Massey at some point tells someone, he can't remember, that he needs to be separated.
Okay.
Cosgrove needs to be separated from. Yes, ma'am.
Search warrants. You made a comment about the search warrants, like we need to do them. Is this something the search warrants are done by regular police and SWAT, or SWAT's the only one who does search warrants?
Both, because,
I figured both, because
Well-
this is their normal.
well, and SWAT, from what he said, SWAT serves the higher risk warrants.
Makes sense.
And he wasn't apparently, according to his statement, he wasn't aware of Springfield occurring at that time. But he would have suggested just wait till we get there to assist.
Right. But they did say they were all at the same briefing, well, the things we've heard is they were all at the same briefing.
But if you remember,
SWAT would someplace else first.
we
Right, well, you've got your briefing on Elliott, and then you have your.
but if you remember what Lieutenant Massey says, he doesn't remember during the briefing Springfield coming up.
Right.
Right, but the others all said it did.
He was at a SWAT briefing.
But they had a separate SWAT briefing,
And
yes.
they did.
Oh, okay.
Two separate
Yeah.
briefings.
Two separate briefings. Yes, sir.
The lieutenant from SWAT, if I'm right, they have a procedure on how to enter for a no-knock. And it was his statement that he felt like they should have waited for SWAT to employ that procedure. Is that correct?
But they were going to, the detectives were not going to, they not agreed that it was not going to be served as a no-knock warrant.
Right. But what I'm getting at is, there is a procedure.
Well, it's SWAT's procedure.
SWAT's procedure, okay.
SWAT's procedure.
Okay.
Ma'am? Did you have
I
something?
did, but I'm.
Okay, yes, sir.
Several of them have mentioned the matrix, and I'm assuming that it's a risk matrix where you do a risk assessment before the entry.
Speaking generally, yes. I don't know their specific standards or what they look, but yes.
But that's the procedure.
Yeah, that's Louisville's.
They go through what could go wrong, what will go wrong, what could go wrong.
Who's there? Anybody, I would assume anybody that's got any possible weapons, any.
And then they assign a risk assessment to that, a number or something to that to figure out whether it's high risk or minimal.
Or exactly, whether they need to involve SWAT or whether it's a lower level of threat.
And he did confirm that he did not see or know the operational plan for Springfield.
That's correct.
Or a matrix for that.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
But basically, he was briefed 2 weeks prior, right?
There was there was an email that he originally said 30 days prior, but then later on it says maybe 2 or 3 weeks prior.
So, Springfield wouldn't have been involved since it was only issued the day before.
Yes,
For the briefings, SWAT had their own. Were they also included in the everybody briefing?
my understanding is yes.
Okay.
Because that's when, that's
Had something been mentioned about Springfield in the everybody briefing, he theoretically should have been in there and should have heard about that.
well, if Lieutenant Massey, I can't go into theory, but Lieutenant Massey said that he was at the briefing. He says he doesn't recall Springfield being brought up, but then when the interviewer said, well, Springfield was connected to Elliott, correct? Yes.
Wait, this is the Elliott one that even over there, they didn't enter.
He's,
Everybody comes out.
he said they called him, more often that they called him out, because they're out in the breed, they were in the front area apparently, and they would just call him out, that's what he said.
So their assessment on Elliott, it is better to have them come out than for them to go in.
Did you say did he say one of the buildings on Elliott was a abandoned building?
I think he did.
Next door.
Yeah, like across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, he may have, but we're trying to focus
On Springfield.
Springfield.
Right.
Springfield.
Right.
So his assessment for Springfield is he didn't even have any of his people at Springfield.
Well, according to him, he didn't know Springfield was going on.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Say again?
I need to take a break.
Okay, break time.
Okay, we'll take a break now, so we'll go off record.